sit and blame your followers, the people who got you to this position, who got you to the position of being a full-time influencer and doing this as your job, as a reason why you disconnected your hijab from your day-to-day life. You will see that I don't follow a lot of these big Muslim YouTubers. I don't support what they do because they have lost their sense of genuineness and authenticity along the way. To those of you watching this who aren't influencers, I really want you to think about who you follow, including myself. What impact they're having in your life? What are you taking away from watching their content and following them and supporting them? Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a really big welcome. I really couldn't resume posting regular content until I had addressed this first matter. I've wanted to do the second half of this video for a very long time, and I think the events of last week have kind of led me to think, you know what, maybe now is a good time to speak on it. So yeah, the first thing is obviously what's been all over social media and in some of the mainstream media as well, is the fact that the Black Lives Matter movement has, I think, honestly, for the first time ever, gained real traction to the point where people are having to not ignore it anymore. Black Lives Matter has always been a movement. Black lives have always mattered. And the BLM hashtag has been around for years because Black Lives Matter, you know. So every year there's been at least one very violent death of a black person, an innocent black person who has been killed at the hands of the people who are supposed to be protecting them. And that has gone on for way too long. It's been astounding to watch the Black Lives Matter finally get the traction that it deserves and to see change happening very slowly. I feel like this is a moment that will be discussed in the future, just as those of us who did history learnt about American history and the plight of black people over the last 400 years. This is definitely a key moment and we all have a part to play in it. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I, just like many other content creators, haven't been posting my own updates. I haven't let you guys know that my hijabs have arrived, or that the haul that I filmed last week is ready to be going up and to show you, you know, what I brought. And, you know, those things have taken a secondary seat because right now, our job right now on Blackout Tuesday and post Blackout Tuesday is to amplify melanated voices. And what that means is that our content can take a backseat, even if it's for a week, even if it's for 4 days, even if it's for 2 weeks, however long you feel appropriate. But until the masses are educated on Black Lives Matter, and until we start doing things outside of social media, start doing things outside of sharing posts, start putting our words into practice, until we start signing petitions, because petitions do work, until we start using our voice by writing to our local MPs and demanding that they demand change, because that's how the chain works. So until we actually start going out of our way to ensure that Black Lives Matter around us, until we start sitting down at home and talking about the plight of black people and the fact that we as people of colour, and I'm going to use that term like this because I know that in the black community that's not a term that's appreciated generally. You can't say that white people and brown people have the same rights or the same privileges. Absolutely not. White people have the most privileges from all races, and black people have the least privileges, and us brown people in the middle, we benefit from privilege. Of course we do. We benefit from things that black people have got very little access to, and it's just not acceptable. So whilst some of us brown people can, especially when it comes to inclusion and diversity, we might be able to relate to, because, you know, in a lot of these companies, black people and brown people are the very small minority, and usually they're there for tokenism. We cannot relate to being killed because we're brown. We cannot relate to being killed by police officers or subjected to extreme police brutality because we're brown. And so this Black Lives Matter movement is not about brown people, it's not about white people, it's not about Asian people, it's not about any other race but black people. And until we start seeing black people as literally our brothers and sisters, literally as like one human race, like this plight is going to continue. So that's why a lot of people are standing up and being like, you know what, no, I don't want to be posting about things that are personal to me right now. And I totally understand if, like, I can see now my timeline slowly people are starting to post after they've said something, and that's fine. And I feel like, you know, once this video is up, which will probably be Sunday or Monday, it'll be this weekend, and then probably from next weekend I will start reposting my regular content, but now with a renewed understanding and honestly new educated mind as to what black people actually go through, because I've always known about racism, I've always known about oppression, and you know, I feel a little bit disappointed in myself that in the last few years I haven't been using my voice as much as I used to and as much as I was proud to before. And for me, oppression was something that I stood very strongly against. And I'll get into this later on in the video. I think that now the Black Lives Matter movement has really taken off properly and as it deserves. Every single person who I follow anyway has shown solidarity and has realised that we didn't understand enough. And whilst we will never truly understand what it's like to be black, what it's like to be treated in that way, what it's like to have prejudice against us, what it's like to have to work so much harder than a white person, we now can respect their struggle so much more because we've all heard so many more stories, we've all understood, we've all seen terrible things, we've seen heartbreaking things. The spotlight being on Black Lives Matter for this week is not enough, and like we can see changes happening. Like, thank God the 4 officers who were involved in George Floyd's death, thank God they've all been arrested, and thank God that the disgusting animal of a man who was the one who murdered him in that merciless way, thank God he's been given second degree murder, because he will get some of the justice that George Floyd deserves is going to be through him having second degree murder charge. And I'm so glad the others were also not just fired but arrested as well. But until like the whole police has a big reform and the racists and the bigots are kicked out completely and they are educated, then we have to keep making it an issue. And that's why it's so powerful and heartwarming to see, like, across the 50 states and across the world, people speaking up for George Floyd and for Black Lives Matter. And I just think that if you're watching this right now and you're somebody who feels like, oh my goodness, like I've heard this too much, like, you know how many people have unfollowed me and unfollowed so many other people who are talking about it? It's kind of disgusting, because ultimately, if you are sick of seeing somebody talk about it, it's because you feel uncomfortable and you don't want to feel uncomfortable. You want to go on social media into a nice fluffy little land where you just see posts about makeup and skincare and babies and home decor, and that's not real life. Like, that is so privileged of anybody. Like, I don't think you realize like how privileged you have to be to say, I'm so sick of looking at all this Black Lives Matter stuff, I'm gonna unfollow everyone who's talking about it. And quite frankly, like, if you feel like that, you were never welcome on my page in the first place, and you're not welcome on this channel. You know where to exit from, you can go, goodbye. Like, I don't want followers who are that ignorant and small-minded. But if you've had that feeling, you need to check yourself, like, right now, and think that you've spent, what was it, Blackout Tuesday, and today it's Friday, so what, 3 or 4, maybe a week most, because George Floyd died like almost a week ago. So you've spent a week having to witness black people being brutally attacked and murdered, and other people, other humans who really think it's disgusting stand up. You've spent a week and you feel fed up of it. Imagine how a black person would feel right now. Imagine how a black mother would feel knowing that her child has to go out there and potentially not come home. I mean, I think that we, the people who are not black, have got 100 times more privilege than somebody who is black, who has that reality, that is their normality, their reality. And the least you can do is stick around. The least you can do is educate yourself. The least you can do is educate those around you. It's going to be a much bigger part of everybody's conversations, as it should be. And to those people who think that, oh, all these influencers are jumping on the bandwagon, no, it's not about jumping on the bandwagon. It's about every single one of us, including myself, educating ourselves, understanding, reading, learning, listening. Okay, it's not about jumping on a bandwagon. And to those people who've called out influencers on not saying enough, I think that there is a level of understanding you have to give, because these bigger influencers, now I say this whole video is coming from a perspective of somebody who is a micro influencer. I have got 6,000 followers on Instagram. I've got 4,000 of you on here. So I'm not in the tens or hundreds, and I'm not in the tens of thousands. I'm or hundreds, thousands, or millions. I'm very much in the micro influencer spectrum. I say that because it's important, because I don't have the knowledge or understanding or experience of having a huge following. However, I have got eyes and I've got a brain, and I've seen that when people with very, very, very large followings say the wrong thing on social media, they are attacked. And I have mixed views on this. I think that sometimes people need to be held to account, and I think that, if you've got 100,000 plus followers, and then you've got a very big influence, I think you have to be very, 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 very aware of your influence. And so it does make me laugh in a way when people are like, but I'm not really like a role model, I'm not really like an influencer, I just share what I like, and this is just my job. No. Like, you've got a large following, you are an influencer, you're having an influence on a large amount of people's lives. I acknowledge, I call myself like a content creator because I don't have a big following, I don't make money from this isn't my job. However, I am very aware that people are influenced by what I say, what I recommend, what I do as well. The people who are most influenced by what I do are the people in my day-to-day life. So my friends, my family, and especially like when I'm teaching the children in my class, they would be very influenced by what the teacher does. People online generally are older than children's age, so they have a little bit more, hopefully, common sense and understanding. But at the same time, a lot of young, impressionable teenagers and young adults are getting their information and their influence from influencers. So if you've got a medium to largest following, and even if you've got a small following, you need to be aware. And there is zero excuse to say, oh, I didn't know, I was ignorant, I didn't understand, because that's a privilege. Like, you do know, you read the same headlines I read in the morning, you see similar tweets to what I see, you see similar posts to what I see. You see, but you choose to move on because it's uncomfortable to address these issues, it's uncomfortable to read up on them, and it's easier to brush them under the carpet than to actually speak up on them. But I think what upsets me, to be honest, is when somebody who is an influencer can spend their whole career, their whole life creating content about how to wear a satin skirt or top 10 nude lipsticks for this complexion, but they can't spend a couple of hours educating themselves in order to educate others. And that just doesn't sit right with me. If somebody who has got a very large following was slow on the uptake, generally it's because they are concerned at the judgment they're going to get. Because you can't deny, just like I can't deny, that the internet is a very judgmental place, and sometimes you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, which means that if you do speak up on it, people will be like, well, you're jumping on the bandwagon. And if you don't speak up on it, people are like, you don't care. So you have to accept. But then the thing is, being a bigger influencer, you should be used to that by now. Like, I'm a very micro influencer. I don't get much criticism. When I do get criticism, it sits with me for a while. I think about it, I talk about it, I process it, and then usually I let it go. But, I don't understand what it's like to have 200, 300, 400 hateful messages. Thank God, alhamdulillah. I feel like Allah knows I couldn't handle that, which is why I am being humbly kept at a micro-influencer level. And I'm grateful for that, because I know that like, for example, Vanity Femme, who I don't even follow her, but I know, because I had conversations with people, the amount of hate that woman gets, it's shocking. And I don't think I'd want to be a part of the online community, even if it was my job, if I was in the position she is in right now. So what I'm saying is, give people the benefit of the doubt to a certain extent. Now, what I'm not saying is when people who have got large followings or small followings or medium followings or whatever show their true colours and say things like all lives matter and say things akin to, you know, this is being blown out of proportion, like let's just have fun, let's just chill. Like, what on earth would possess you to belittle a whole race's plight and a whole race's 400 plus years, generations of their struggle, and just say, all lives matter? No. So for me, anyone who's had that sort of viewpoint, I've just been like, I'm unfollowing you. I don't need to be influenced in a way which benefits you if you have got a view that's so damaging to society like that. And yes, everyone makes mistakes. Yes, we all make mistakes, we're all humans. But what I'm saying is that I think there is a level of understanding we must give to bigger influencers, but also you need to be smart yourself and think whatever you're consuming online, whoever you're following, whatever you're reading, whatever you spend the most time doing is what affects your life at the end of the day. So you want to be following humans who contribute positively to your life. And if you found that your whole, like the majority of people that you're following have been quite wishy-washy and not been given practical tips on how to help, not been speaking out, not been using their platform in a positive and empowering way for Black people, I think, like for me, I just thought, like, anyone who hasn't, there's literally zero excuse. There's literally no excuse, and I don't want to support or follow you anymore. So that's all I'm going to say on that anyway. Now let's move on to the real problem with hijabi influencers in my eyes. So I have been creating YouTube videos for coming up to 3 years now, and I've been a blogger since I was 18. I'm 25 now, so that's a very long time. I've been consuming content from hijabi bloggers and YouTubers since I was 15. So it's been exactly 10 years for me since I discovered YouTube, and honestly, I, like many of you out there, I loved YouTube. Like, I absolutely loved it. I still do, clearly, because I'm on the platform and I'm making videos, and I get to connect with so many people, so many beautiful women from like all over the world, which blows my mind. So I'm very grateful for the platform I have, albeit a small one, but I am very grateful because for me, like I've always said, this isn't my full-time job. This isn't even a part-time job. It's not really even a side hustle because I make such a minuscule amount of money from YouTube and Instagram. But the reason why I pour hours of my time into it is because I get so much back from you guys on an individual level. I get beautiful conversations, friendships, duas, like recommendations. Like it's just a lovely community that I, alhamdulillah, am fortunate enough to be blessed with. So just like many of you, I was very into following Dinatokio and Amenakin, or Amenakin, but she was known as Amenakin, Pearl Daisy back in the day. I think Baby Layla Love as well is one of the first people who I can remember following. And those are like, I think the first 3 YouTubers who come to mind in terms of hijabi influence. So I'm going to quickly like run through like my personal experience. Like I said, these 3 were like the first 3 that I really liked following. My favourite was, and pretty much still is, Dinatokio. And I don't want this to come as like a little beg video like, oh Dina, I'm your banyo, I really like following you. But I just connected with Dina straight away because she was always so real and so genuine and so authentic. And when she used to like do her styling videos, I was so inspired and I looked up to her and I thought she was so cool and I wanted to like one day like dress like her, and clearly I still haven't managed to master that. So I just loved her style. I loved her quirky personality. And then as the years went on, and like we saw like her get married, and then we saw her open up and become much more vulnerable, and she started talking about her eating disorder, and I just resonated with her on so many levels. I mean, I've not ever gone for an eating disorder, but I respected that she could be so raw and vulnerable with us, and I never really got a sense of ulterior motives or lack of authenticity from her. ever. And I understood that, you know, this was her job, as when influencing became a job, like in the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I understood this was her job, and she would have to change, she'd have to adapt to make influencing be a profitable enough job for her to continue doing this. I brought her scarves as well when I was a student, and I was like, you know, broke a lot of the times, but I still have one of her scarves and I absolutely love it. And I still watch her videos to this day. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say that when she took the hijab off, it didn't affect me. And I also know that it's not about me. You know, your hijab is between you and Allah, 100%. But there is not a single person on this earth who can say Muslim women who wear hijab and start to build a following and their followers connect with them through the hijab. There is not a single person who can say that their followers are not going to have a right to be disappointed when they decide to take the hijab off. Now, does that mean that I started typing her long messages like, you're going to go to hell because you are influencing people to take their hijabs off, and shame on you, and shaitan got you, and da da da? No. No. That's not me. That's not how I was raised. That's not how I was brought up. I just think that people get so powerful and passionate behind the screen, and I don't support that sort of judgmental, nasty behaviour in any way. And the thing is, Dina was getting a lot of hate. She was getting a lot of judgment. You know, she started showing a bit of her hair, and she was attacked and attacked and attacked for it. Am I justifying that as a reason for her to take her hijab off? No. I mean, I read like a comment from one influencer to another saying that, you know, the reason why we take our hijabs off is because of our followers. And I think that's a little bit far, honestly, because my perspective is that when you choose to wear the hijab, you wear it because you want to please your creator and because your creator has given it to you. And there's so much barakah and rahmat into the reasonings behind hijab that if you're wearing it truly for the sake of Allah, then it doesn't matter what people say around you, you're going to keep it on because you're wearing it for Allah, you know? That Allah is with you all the time and you're wearing the hijab for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not wearing it for other people. Now, am I saying that people are not unjust and not ridiculous and not horrible trolls online? Absolutely not. I'm not denying their existence. There are some really, really nasty people out there. And like I said again, I'm a micro influencer, so I've not had this hate, and maybe, you know, some of you watching this are people with larger followings who have taken your hijab off. Maybe you're thinking, well, you just don't understand. You're right, I don't. I hold my hands up, I don't understand. But I just think that you can't really sit and blame your followers, the people who got you to this position, who got you to the position of being a full-time influencer and doing this as your job, as a reason why you disconnected your hijab from your day-to-day life. And to say that, I think is a bit of a cop-out, because ultimately you didn't want to wear it for whatever reason that's personal to you. You can turn off comments, you can block people, you can delete people, and yes, you're right, maybe you shouldn't have to, but look, at the end of the day, people who don't even wear hijab, like Vanity Femme, get hate on a day-to-day basis. It's not necessarily just like if you wear a hijab you're going to get hate, and if you don't wear hijab you're going to be safe from hate. Some people out there are just twisted and just have issues and just want to go online and let all their anger and frustration out at people like us and people who've got way more followers than I have. That's not okay. I'm not saying that's okay at all. I've written out notes, but I think this is going to be a very long video, and yeah, like I said at the start of this video, this is all my opinion. I don't know if I said this actually, but this is all my opinion. If you don't agree, politely let me know down in the comments. We don't need to have an argument about it. But obviously, like I said, like many of you, I'm somebody who grew up watching Dina and Amna, and so when they took their hijab off, like I said, especially with Dina, I'm not gonna lie, I was sad. I was sad for a good few days because she was definitely someone who I would consider as a role model, and definitely someone who I was inspired by in so many ways. And I was sad. And then I watched her podcast about it and I saw how sad she was. She was really sad about it. And this is what I love about Dina. She's very real. She's very authentic. You know, you can critique and criticize however much you want, but she is one of the realest people out there. So I listened, I understood, I respected, and like I said, I kept my opinions to myself, because whatever caused her to take her hijab off. First of all, I can sleep comfortably knowing that it wasn't me writing those nasty comments online, because ultimately on the day of judgment she could say that these people were the ones who were continuously, causing me to feel uncomfortable and questioning me. And you don't know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could turn around and throw them into the hellfire because they decided to make it their job to make a woman feel uncomfortable about her hijab. I'm just saying, that's a real possibility. Some people are so quick to jump on behind the keyboard and be a little keyboard warrior without thinking about the long-term repercussions of what you've done and your words, and words have consequences. Like I said, I felt sad, but I moved on. You move on, and I decided that I did want to carry on following her because I did still respect her. I do still care about her. I do want to see how she does in life, and I do want to see her content. I like her content. Now with Amina, those of you who don't know, and I don't know how this video is going to do, it might just go to my followers or it might gain a bit of traction, I'm not sure. Those of you who are unaware, or maybe you've even been following me for a few years and you don't know, because I haven't spoken about this as much as I should have, but I am what I would deem as an ethical blogger. I do not talk about brands or products by companies who support the oppression of Palestinians. That means I don't support Zionism. Zionism is, I'll leave the definition here, racism is, but unfortunately I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm quite ashamed to say that because of my career I've been silenced, and because I'm a teacher. I'll never forget that day I was called into deputy head's office and I was told that if I wanted to have a chance of getting a job at this particular school, I had to stop talking about Palestine. And I remember feeling my stomach clench inside, and I just thought, what has my views on Palestine, and if you don't know about Palestine, you need to know about Palestine, but basically the world's biggest open air prison full of innocent people, got to do with my ability to teach well? I just couldn't comprehend that I was being told that if I had a view which was in favour against oppression, that I would not be likely to get a job at the school. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I really couldn't. And unfortunately, it did and still has stopped me from speaking out about a lot of things. And I was looking at a few tweets the other day from other teachers. A lot of these teachers are on private, and they've just said, I feel like my career has silenced me in so many ways, because we're told you have to be careful about what you put on social media. You don't want to upset parents, you don't want to put a wrong impression of the school that you're working for. And it's just so wrong, because we should be able to teach as wonderfully as we do and still be able to have opinions on things that matter. There's no issue if I'm talking about my favourite lipstick or my skincare routine, but there is an issue if I'm talking about the fact that Palestinians are being killed on a daily basis and there's no justice. That is a problem. I started my blog when I was 18, and very shortly after I started my blog, I learned that so many brands fund the oppression of Palestinians. So many brands, owners, give a large proportion of their profits to Israel. And Israel, and I'm not saying that all of Israel are racist or are cruel or full of cruel people, but the Zionists within Israel, the people who run the army and the people who believe that Palestinians shouldn't exist, they then go and use that money and use those funds to make the Palestinians' lives a living hell. When I learnt about this, I felt disgusted. I had literally just brought a bunch of MAC stuff for my birthday, and I had so much L'Oreal and Maybelline things in my collection, and I just felt sick. I felt like I was I personally put money in to kill Palestinians and to hurt Palestinian mothers and fathers and grandparents and children, and it really, really tore me up inside. And so my blog and my Instagram page became a place of awareness for people, and I put together a list of all the companies who are unethical, and then subsequently I put together a list of companies who are ethical and who have got no affiliation with these other brands, and that was and still is important to me. But I am gonna hold my hands up and say that I have not been as vocal as I should have been, and it is because I was scared for my career. I mean, someone could turn around and point this video at me and be like, you posted this and this doesn't sit well with us. But I just think your principles, your values, and your morals, now as a 25-year-old I can say that now I just feel like if there is a school who rejects me based on my passion for supporting and standing with oppressed people, then I don't want to work for that school. Like, I wish I'd had that feeling before, but I don't want to work for that school. And what the re-enlightening of the Black Lives Matter movement has shown me is that we still are all powerful in our own right. We still have a voice, and we still have a platform for a reason, and we can make change. So I think I need to go back to my ethics and morals a little bit, to be honest with you. But the reason why I'm talking about Amina here is because I used to absolutely really enjoy her content. She was definitely older than me. I couldn't relate to some of the things she talked about. Like, Dina wasn't married when I was watching her, whereas Amina was. And so Amina was almost like, I wouldn't say an auntie, but like she was quite a bit older than me, whereas Dina I kind of saw as like a big sister. And Amina was, as you guys know, the first hijabi to become an ambassador for L'Oreal. And like I just said, L'Oreal are what I would deem as unethical, and a company who have got so many strikes against their names, not just for supporting Zionism. So I was a little bit shocked, to be honest, at that. And I remember writing her a comment on her YouTube video, and it wasn't nasty, it wasn't rude, and it was written really politely, and it was just, Salam Amna, am I okay to like send you some information about L'Oreal? I feel like you should know as a Muslim sister that this is what they're affiliated with, this is where some of their money is going. And I think this was actually even before that she had started this contract with L'Oreal, but maybe it was at the time, I can't remember. But I just remember going back to the video and seeing she deleted my comment. That was the first time I felt silenced by someone who I had really admired and looked up to. And I felt hurt. I felt like she'd like slapped me away. And obviously she doesn't want other people seeing that she is now basically working along this company who are harming, not doing good for us, are harming our Muslim brothers and sisters. So I could kind of understand why she deleted my comment, but it was nonetheless very disappointing. And then basically a couple of months went by, and then she was dropped by L'Oreal. And the reason why they dropped her was because some tweets resurfaced from years ago where Amina herself has spoken up against the injustice towards Palestinians, and L'Oreal deemed that as racism, and they said they don't support racism, they don't support anyone who is racist towards Israelis or anti-Semitic. I'm sure they use that terminology. And don't we know how the right wing love to use the word anti-Semitic when actually you're being anti-Zionism, but they're trying to label you with one brush and say you're anti-Semitic, which is very different, very different. You know, a real true Jewish person is anti-Zionist. So you cannot be a true Jewish person and understand the Torah from the depth of its core and believe in everything that you believe in and think that oppressing Palestinians and treating them the way the Zionists do is correct. You can't. L'Oreal dropped her because they claimed that she'd been racist, and instead of using that moment as a learning curve for hundreds of thousands of people and saying, hang on, you can drop me, but that was not racism. What's happening in Palestine right now as we speak is people are dying, and it's because of Zionism, which is what you are funding and which is what our money is funding. Amina turned around and she apologized. She apologized for those views, for brand relations. And that's when I was honestly floored. I could not believe it. For me, that was the moment when I just felt like that role model of mine, poof, she'd disappeared. She'd gone. I didn't want to follow her anymore. I unfollowed her on every platform. If you know about a struggle, if you know about oppression, and then you have been given a big enough platform to make a little bit of a difference and to educate people, and you choose not to, then I don't want to have you in my realm of what I see every day and what I look up to and what inspires me. So that's why when she took her hijab off this week, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a surprise because she always wore it so beautifully. Mashallah, she is beautiful. She's very eloquent. She's very educated. These are some of the reasons why I looked up to her. I believe she used to be a teacher as well. Like, another inspirational point about her. But when she took it off, which was surprising, and then she proceeded to post a video about why she took her hijab off the day after Blackout Tuesday, therefore changing the conversation from Black Lives Matter to I've taken the hijab off and here's a picture of my hair and here's what my hair looks like. I was like, what? Like, see, this is why you've lost me as a follower years ago, because your values and morals and ethics that you had that was so strong at the start of your journey, Amna, they were dropped a very long time ago, and that's really sad. That's really, really sad. So I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked. And I appreciated that other people with bigger followings than me, were saying like, "Honey, you need to read the room. This was not the right time to make this statement. This is not about you. You do not need to share your personal plight or struggle or talk about changes or whatever it is right now. This is a really ridiculous moment to make it about you." Quite frankly, I don't want to sound harsh here, but quite frankly, like, I, as a 25-year-old woman, I don't care when somebody takes a hijab off anymore, because I now understand, and this is what I want to talk about, I now understand that whilst when I was younger, 100% when I was younger, these influencers were role models to me. I now, at the age of 25, and actually maybe at the age of 22, at the age of 22, I was able to separate role models and influencers, because an influencer is someone who is there to inspire, in my opinion, and is someone who is there to help you to decide what the best lipstick is or the best foundation is, or how to style this, or how to give you decor inspiration, or, you know, share a really good recipe. Inspire your life. A role model is somebody you should aspire to look up to. Now, I am not saying, and I've heard influencers say this, that if you're calling an influencer a role model, then that's really wrong, you're really silly, you shouldn't say that, because that's ridiculous. We all look up to influencers at some point in our lives. We all respect and admire them at some point in our lives. We all are influenced, and we see them as our role models at some point in our lives, especially if you've been following social media for many years, especially if you're younger, especially if you're more likely to be impressionable towards these people. Yeah, they are your role models. And what I'm saying is that for me now, as a grown woman, no, I would not say a single influencer right now is my role model. But yes, Dina, yes, Amina, yes, Layla, they were role models for me 10 years ago. 7 years ago, you know, they were role models for me. I'm not going to apologize for that, or I'm not going to put myself down for that, because I was young, I was growing up. I needed to see visible physical role models in my life, apart from my mum, my nanny, and my aunties around me. And I also want to say here that those women who I've just named, they are and were my role models. They still are, they were then my role models. The reason why I wanted to wear hijab was because I was so inspired by my nanny to wear the hijab. The reason why wanted to wear the hijab was because I was so inspired by my khalis and my mum. And I wore the hijab when I was a kid. I'm not going to go into my hijab story because I'll leave that in the card somewhere. But when I wore the hijab from the age of 10 to the age of 16, 17, I wore it part-time because that's what I felt comfortable with, and that was fine. And then when I was 16, 17, that's when I decided to read up into actually, like, what is the purpose of hijab? Why am I wearing this to school? Why do people wear this full time? What is the reason behind it? And the more I educated myself, the more I understood the beauty behind the hijab, and how hijab, we wear this for Allah, but really Allah's given it as a gift for us, and it's literally like, it's my crown. You're going to see a picture in the background very soon, very soon, of a beautiful illustration by Start with Bismillah, and it says hijab is my crown. Hijab is my crown. I feel incomplete without it. I don't feel like myself without it. If anyone took my hijab off me, I'd feel like they'd taken my clothing off me. I'd feel naked. I feel stripped of my identity. Hijab is a big part of me. It's not the be all and end all, but it is a big part of me. And I think the problem is too many younger women and younger girls are seeing these influencers as role models and as their only role models, because it doesn't matter if every single hijabi YouTuber out there took their hijab off right now. I would not take mine off, because the reason why I wear my hijab is solely for the sake of Allah, and I understand that and I educated myself on that. I'm not saying that it's wrong to be influenced in a particular hijab style. And this is something that Samina said in her video as well, which I really loved watching, and it's way shorter than mine, so if you want to watch it, I definitely recommend you do. I'll leave it linked down below. Samina said it's fine. It's fine to be influenced. It's fine to be inspired. It's fine to copy a hijab style or buy from their businesses. But you shouldn't be wearing the hijab for the sake of anybody, because human beings, they make mistakes. Human beings mess up. Human beings disappoint you, and Allah never does. That's what we have to remember. Another argument I've heard a lot is that your only role model should be the great women of Islam. And whilst I 100% agree, like honestly, ladies, when you start putting aside half an hour a week into reading up on the lives of the beautiful women of Jannah and the women of Islam who honestly and truly were the best of creation, then you will understand the true essence of femininity, the true beauty of a woman, the power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us by being women, the respect that we have been given as women in Islam. And that will strengthen your love for being a woman, being a Muslimah, being a hijabi, so much more than watching any kind of influencer, including myself, talk about what we brought last week, or doing a vlog on a day out, or talking about trivial things. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with watching, following, and being inspired by influencers. If I was saying that, I'd be a hypocrite, because here I am on the same platform doing a similar thing, just with a smaller audience. But what I am saying is that it's very important that every single one of us, especially if you are hijabi right now, every single one of us renew our intentions with hijab, research and educate ourselves on our hijabs, and understand why we wear hijabs. And that will, inshallah, strengthen you so much to the point where you will not want to take it off for any reason or for anyone. You do have a right to be upset when you see an influencer that you have admired and looked up to take the hijab off. My heart feels sad when I see it happen. There's been, not as, okay, apart from Amna and Dina, there's been like other bloggers who don't have as large followings, but still, when they took their hijab off, I still felt a sense of sadness. I felt like, no way am I saying that she's like losing her Islam or going away from Deen, but you do feel a little bit of that connection kind of go, because being a hijabi is like being in a sisterhood, not like being in a toxic cult, being in a sisterhood for the most part, and it's a beautiful thing. And so when you see people like coming away from it, it is sad, but you have to, like I said, keep reminding yourself that you didn't wear it for them. You never wore it for them in the first place. You're wearing it for Allah. You're wearing it for your Lord. I'm not also saying that hijab is a really easy thing to wear, and I'm not also saying that I've not thought about taking it off. I have, but I'm saying that it's such a blessing to be able to wear one freely. Like in France, they can't do that. In certain countries, they can't. In Germany, you can't wear a hijab and teach without having a court order allowing you to. Did you know that? Because I only learned that because I went to Germany and I've got a friend there, and she told me that, and I was shocked. So we are so blessed here in the UK that we are able to wear hijabs with minimal disruption, minimal judgment, minimal hate. So we should embrace that, we really should. But I know it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's also not that hard. And I think those of you who feel really disappointed by influencers who are taking the hijabs off, and it's your right to keep following them or unfollow them, then I would say to you, open your eyes, look around. There are so many other influencers, content creators, hijabis on social media who honestly have the most beautiful personalities, but just because they don't have a large number next to their followers, you might think, not really worth my time. But I would say challenge that judgment there and go ahead and follow 20 different small hijabis and watch yourself just reconnect with it again, because honestly, the amount of beautiful women in hijab that are on social media is amazing, and it's up to you who you choose to follow. I feel like so many people follow these OG people who basically founded the hijabi industry and don't then choose to expand their following list. There's so many people in the last 10 years who wear hijab and who have created their own little platforms, not platforms, their own little communities, that you are absolutely welcome to join and be a part of. You don't need to feel like, oh, just because 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 large influencers taking the hijab off, that's it. Like, I can't be inspired by hijabis anymore. Literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hijabis out there who you can follow. I'm going to leave a couple of their names, some links down below if you're looking for people to follow, wear the hijab and are amazing. But there's also like bloggers who wear the hijab and have got larger platforms and I think deserve way more love and respect, like Umayma Abdul, like Omaya Zain. Just so many. I don't want to even start going through my list of people I follow because we are going to be here for a very long time and I know this video is super long already. But I think what I wanted to say was that I kind of touched on this already, but if you are an influencer with a small, medium or large size following, please stop denying the fact that you've got influence. Please stop denying the fact you're a role model. Whether you like it or not, you are. And so you honestly cannot sit there and say like, well, I take no responsibility for influencing a bunch of people because that's not what I intend to do. Every single thing that we do has an impact and has a consequence. And I was watching Mufti Meng's video today. Actually, he posted a very short video on when an influencer lets you down. I love the video. I'm going to leave it linked down below because you guys should watch it. And what I love about Mufti Meng, and I really appreciate about him, is that he is so down with the kids. And I don't know if it's because he's got a lot of kids himself or if it's because he's like very into his social media, but he picks up on issues straight away and he literally makes videos and gives advice and practical life advice about it. So what he was saying was that as anyone who has got a platform, that platform is a gift from Allah. Allah's given you that platform for a reason, and I think so many bloggers lose sight of that reason. They see the money, they see like the brand deals, they see the opportunity to build brand connections, and they kind of lose themselves a little bit. And I wanted to talk about this. If you are a close follower of mine, you will see that I don't follow a lot of these big YouTubers, big Muslim YouTubers. I don't support what they do because they have lost their sense of genuineness and authenticity along the way. Okay, maybe you can say, you know what, you don't understand because you don't have a big following and you don't know what it's like. So it's okay for them to lose it because now they're a lot more busy, now they've got a lot more things to do, now they get a lot more money and money changes people and change. But no one is saying that you can't change over time. Everybody changes, everyone grows, but we really, inshallah, pray that we all grow upwards and outwards and not go back steps. And I think that when you start allowing the number of followers you have to forget your core morals and values and to forget the people who supported you the most, only follow other bloggers who've got large followings or only follow brands or only connect and speak to people who are on your level or higher, I can't relate to that and I can't support that. And this is going to sound maybe a little bit salty. I was really in two minds as to whether I should talk about this or not, but there is a handful of large bloggers who have now, mashallah to them, made it, but who I've been following since they had 200, 300, 1,000, 2,000 followers and been an active supporter of them, shared their work, liked, commented, left them DMs, like been a really, really supportive follower. And then as soon as they sort of hit 30,000, 40,000, 100,000, they unfollowed me. And it's like, okay, I'm so sorry that my growth hasn't matched yours. And I'm so sorry that I'm not important enough now to be somebody who you can connect with. But also, I'm one of the people who helped to get you to where you are. So it does feel like a slap in the face. And influencers like that, I just think the ones who just get so fixated on numbers, so obsessed with success on social media that they lose sight of where they were when they started and who helped them along the journey, like that cuts deep. But unfortunately there is a lot of influencers who have done this, and I just think it's a real shame. So the bigger bloggers that I follow, there's very few and far between them. I am a psychology graduate, so I feel like I can read people really well, and I don't like inauthentic people, I don't like ingenuine people. I don't like to follow people who have an era of superiority around them and who honestly make you feel a bit crap. Like, because they portray their life to be absolutely perfect all the time. It's like, no, none of us have this perfect life, and I just want to be surrounded with real women. You know what really gets to me is like when somebody has a big platform, but every single day they're posting 10 to 20 links so you guys and me can buy their products and help them make money, but once a year they will talk about anything that's really meaningful and really important. And I'm not saying that bloggers have to become the biggest activists out there, absolutely not. Because ultimately, if I'm following you because I liked your lipstick recommendation, then I'm going to expect beauty content from you. But I just think that when you lose sight of the fact that you've got this following, you've got this platform, and you convince yourself that it's okay to not speak up on issues that are important, I don't care to follow you anymore, because there needs to be this disconnect between this dreamy Instagram life of where we just talk about makeup, skincare, families, marriage, you know, the day-to-day life things, and then real issues in the world, real things that matter, things that make people feel a bit uncomfortable. And I genuinely can't stand behind anybody, and I wouldn't want any of you to stand behind me if all I did was talk about the fluffy stuff and I left the real world stuff to other people, because especially if you've been given a platform, that is a responsibility, I believe. To those of you watching this who aren't influencers, I really want you to think about who you follow, including myself, and I want you to think about what impact they're having in your life. What are you taking away from watching their content and following them and supporting them? And if you don't feel like you're learning or growing through social media at all, and all you're doing is being bombarded with outfit pictures of the day and makeup and skincare and things like that, and you're not actually gaining anything else from your Instagram feed, please, please, please reevaluate who you're following, and please start to, even if you don't want to unfollow anyone because you want to support as many Muslim sisters as possible, please support people who talk about real life matters and real issues, because it takes a lot to put yourself out there and talk about controversial or slightly uncomfortable things, but ultimately they're doing it because they want you to be better, and we can only be better by educating and speaking on these things and using our platform for the greater good. And honestly, so many of these bloggers who I started following from when they had less followers, they had a much more authentic, real sense of self where they would talk about things like this. But as the years have gone on, as the influencer industry has grown, they've all kind of molded into the same personality of posting the same content every single day, as if they were like made in a factory and they're just churning out the same thing over and over again. It's like, well, apart from the fact that you're maybe brown or you wear a hijab, what makes you different from any other influencer out there? Like, I want to be following women who are not afraid to use their voice when it counts. And no, you don't have to speak about every single injustice in the world. I'm not saying that. But I think how you shouldn't go like a whole month without speaking about something that really, really matters that's outside of you and your realm and your bubble. Because the more we do that, the more we just talk about ourselves and our own bubble and our own issues and our own problems, the more that we lose sense of the world and the fact that this world is so much bigger than just us. And we, in this day and age, have such an opportunity to reach people, to help people, educate people, and it's just not good enough. Like, so many people are just not doing like a good enough job, in my opinion. And I know this is an opinion, this is my opinion, I know it's an opinion that's not going to be agreed by many. I'm just looking for my notes, and I think that's basically what I wanted to say. I think we need to stop putting anyone on such a big pedestal and understanding that everyone's faves are problematic in some way, but at the same time, as problematic as people can be. However, honestly, guys, like, in the grand scheme of things, Amna taking hijab off, Dina taking hijab off, it's sad. Yeah, you might be a bit disappointed, yeah, but it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. So all you can do really is make dua. And I don't advise on like leaving harsh, horrible comments. What's it going to do? Apart from counting against you, it's not going to help. You can advise in private if you want to, you can send them a message if you want to, but I just think that we really all need to look at ourselves, focus on ourselves, think about what we're doing, think about why we are wearing the hijab or why we're not wearing the hijab, and at the end of the day, like, we all have our own lives to live, and the moment you stop putting so much importance on their shoulders, the less you care about the choices that they make in the long run. And again, I'm not saying that I wasn't sad when Dina took her hijab off. I was, but it hasn't impacted my life. I just think we need to reassess who we look up to, and also like the importance we give to people, because ultimately if you're following someone, if you're commenting, if you're engaging with them, you're supporting them, like I said, there are many other women out there who you can follow, encourage, support and connect with, other than the OG people who maybe you don't resonate with anymore, maybe you are not on the same page anymore, and that's okay. And yeah, I think this is basically like all the things that have been on my mind for a very long time, and I was in two minds about making this video, but I think that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but if there is, I'll leave it down below in the comments and we can have a conversation there. And I hope I haven't offended anybody or upset anyone. If I have, I apologise, that was not my intention at all. Yeah, I'm just like you. If you're like a young Muslim woman watching this, someone who has been influenced and inspired by a lot of Muslim women who wear hijab, who've chosen to take it off, at the end of the day, that's their journey, that's their path, and we are all on our own path. So yes, be inspired, yes, take inspiration, yes, support, yes, show love to people online, but also remember that we have our own lives to live, and just because somebody takes their hijab off does not mean that, like, that's it now. It's not trendy anymore, it's not the in thing anymore, so let's all just take our hijabs off, because no, we did it for Allah, we're wearing it for Allah. Alhamdulillah, I'm aware of why I wear it, and like I said, I'm far from perfect. Just because I wear this on my head does not make me a perfect human being, and I know that when you wear the hijab you get a lot more scrutiny and you get a lot more judgment, you know, a lot more people have opinions to point at you, but that's fine, you know, people are always going to have opinions, that's fine. The last thing I wanted to say was that, like I said from the start, I'm a very small content creator. I've got a very small audience in the grand scheme of things, and I don't know what it's like to have constant judgment and hate sent to me. Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed to not know that feeling. So yeah, that I understand that, like, if you have had that, that is a big test for you, and I pray that you're able to work through that, because it's not nice and nobody deserves that. It doesn't matter what their job is, they don't deserve nastiness and trolls and hate. But yeah, it's 1:15 in the morning now and I need to pack up and go, so this is like my video to end this week. It's been a very emotionally draining but insightful week, and I'm glad that we are able to have these conversations. I'm glad we're able to use our platforms wisely and efficiently and effectively, and I really hope that the conversations that matter keep going, because those are really what will change the world, inshallah. And remember, last thing I want to say is that dua is the weapon of the believer, which means that every single one of us has the ability to raise our hand, make dua, and that one dua could be what triggers change in the world. So make dua with your whole heart, and make dua for anything and everything. Make dua that if you wear hijab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps you steadfast on the hijab, and make dua that if you don't wear the hijab and you want to, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows you to be able to do that soon. And make dua for people who've gone away from the hijab and who maybe are looking to come back but don't have the strength to do that. May they have the strength to, inshallah, embrace it again. And make dua for all those hateful people who fill up people's comments with nasty judgmental comments, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them some sense in their heads and some understanding that that's not the way. That is not the